They say that behind every great man stands a woman who keeps him grounded. Well, that saying couldn't be further from the truth when it comes to this man and his wife. His wife shares the same last name not because she's his wife, but because she's also his first officer. Let me explain. January 15, 2009 was a day that would go down in history as one of the most heroic aviation stories ever told. U.S. Airways Flight 1549, taking off from New York's LaGuardia Airport, bound for Charlotte, North Carolina, was about to experience one of the most catastrophic failures in aviation history. The Airbus A320, carrying 155 people, including passengers and crew, took off at 3:27 p.m. Just minutes after takeoff, the plane encountered a flock of geese, causing both engines to fail. The crew's initial response was swift, and they quickly assessed the situation. Captain Chesley Sullenberger, a veteran pilot with over 40 years of experience, took control of the plane. First Officer Jeffrey Skiles, an experienced pilot in his own right, worked tirelessly to restart the engines. Despite their best efforts, the engines refused to respond. The plane was crippled, and the crew knew they had to act fast. Now, typically when a plane loses power while flying, it doesn't just fall straight down like in the movies. Instead, the plane starts to lose altitude very slowly, giving the pilots time to figure out what happened and try to fix it. And in this case, the pilots did everything they could to save the plane. But no matter what they did, nothing worked. The plane was going down, and the only thing keeping it in the air at that point was momentum. And momentum only keeps a plane in the air for so long, so the pilots needed to find a solution fast. But before we move on, let me introduce you to the incredible woman behind the amazing man. This is Captain Sully's wife, Laura, and she's also his first officer. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can she also be his first officer? Well, back when Sully was training to become a pilot, he met a woman named Laura, and the two fell in love. They got married and started a family, and Sully continued to pursue his career in aviation. Laura, being the supportive wife that she is, pursued her own career as a pilot. She became a well-respected pilot in her own right, and she and Sully often flew together. Even though she's his wife, she's also his first officer, which means that she's his official partner in the cockpit. When Sully makes a call in the cockpit, Laura is the only person he can discuss it with. Only she has the authority to overrule his decisions, and if she disagrees with him, she can do so without fear of reprisal. This unique dynamic between husband and wife has led to many successful flights and has earned them the respect of their peers. But back to the story, as the plane began its slow descent, the crew knew they had only one option. At this point, the only thing keeping the plane in the air was momentum. So the pilots knew that they needed to find a solution fast. They needed to land the plane, but where? The crew began to scan the area for a suitable landing spot. They needed somewhere flat, wide, and most importantly, clear of obstacles. The options were limited, and the clock was ticking. The crew knew that they didn't have much time left. The plane was losing altitude fast, and the Hudson River was their only hope. Captain Sullenberger's voice came over the intercom, calm and reassuring. "This is the captain. We've had a bird strike. We're going to make an emergency landing on the Hudson River." The passengers looked at each other in shock, but the crew remained focused. As the plane descended, Captain Sullenberger's skill and experience took over. He expertly guided the plane towards the Hudson River, avoiding populated areas and minimizing the risk of casualties on the ground. The impact was immense, but Captain Sullenberger's skill had made all the difference. The plane landed on the Hudson River with incredible force, but it remained relatively intact. The crew's training kicked in, and they sprang into action. "Everyone get out now!" Captain Sullenberger shouted. The passengers began to evacuate the plane, sliding down the emergency slides and into the icy waters of the Hudson. The crew helped the passengers onto the wings, where they waited for rescue. The rescue efforts were swift, with ferries and emergency responders rushing to the scene. Passengers praised the crew's heroism, and Captain Sullenberger became an overnight sensation. In the end, everyone survived. And when the passengers were asked what they thought of the crew, They said that the captain and his first officer, who also happens to be his wife, were true heroes. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.